Kingdom Hearts Missing Link is the franchise's biggest cancellation, with multiple years of development under its belt, 2 public trailers, and 3 closed beta tests. It's the biggest mishandling of the series we've seen so far. However, most people think that Missing Link is the only Kingdom Hearts game to be scrapped, whereas it's actually the second. Kingdom Hearts 0.5 Birth by Sleep Volume 2, which was first teased at the end of the Final Mix secret episode. Now, most would know that the idea, or at least parts of this concept, went on to become 0.2 A Fragmentary Passage, bundled into 2.8 as a short 2-hour experience that would help bridge the story of Birth by Sleep to KH1 and introduce a small prologue for Kingdom Hearts 3. This was an exciting title to finally receive, as for people who had been paying close attention to the series, knew that BBS 0.5 Volume 2 was a story that Nomura wanted to tell for a very long time. However, it does appear that the version of this story that we got within 2.8 isn't the full vision of what Nomura originally intended for Volume 2, and rather it was planned to be a bigger standalone game, but due to time and scheduling issues, the concept would keep getting pushed back until the opportunity with 2.8 arrived, when Nomura could at least explain some of the more need-to-know portions of this game. Since the release of Birth by Sleep back in 2010, Nomura had constantly commented on the existence of this idea for many years leading up to the release of 2.8 in 2017. A few months ago, RaccoonCoffee over on the Kingdom Hearts subreddit made a really interesting write-up detailing all of the mentions of BBS Volume 2 by Nomura within various interviews. This provides a lot of interesting insight as to how Nomura never let go of this idea, and that his original vision was seemingly much grander for this Kingdom Hearts project compared to what we got with 0.2. Now, it is important to know that unlike Missing Link, this Kingdom Hearts title had never entered into proper development, but was rather an idea that had been conceptualized during Birth by Sleep, teased, and publicly mentioned on numerous occasions. While I'm sure that Nomura probably has a large folder containing a bunch of scrapped Kingdom Hearts ideas, Missing Link and the full Birth by Sleep Volume 2 are the only publicly known ones. The first mention of this game would come before the release of Birth by Sleep back in 2010, contained within an interview within the 358 over 2 days Ultimania. The interviewer asked Nomura if it's possible if there will be another game that will connect the events of Birth by Sleep to Kingdom Hearts 1, and if that will be Kingdom Hearts 3. He'd mentioned here that it's entirely possible that the next game in the series won't be Kingdom Hearts 3. He can't speak on what this game might be just yet, but it will be more official than a side story. I actually told the producer this recently, and he said what? It's the Mystery Kingdom Hearts. Now, we know that 2 other Kingdom Hearts games released after Birth by Sleep, and fairly quickly too. This would be Recoded and Dream Drop Distance, though it seems that the Mystery Kingdom Hearts in question here is 0.5 Volume 2. After the release of Birth by Sleep contained within the BBS Ultimania, Nomura was asked about the next game in the Kingdom Hearts series. He mentioned that there is one that we are hoping to release within this year. This is 2010, and the game he's referring to here is Recoded, which released in October of 2010. Yes, that's right, Japan received 2 Kingdom Hearts games in 1 year. But he went on to say that for 2011 there is one more game we are planning on releasing. I think it will probably make the main characters more complicated. You'll also notice here that he brings up blank points with how Sora is leaving on a new adventure and that it connects to Kingdom Hearts 3. The blank points cutscene acted as a teaser, first showing off the 0.5 subtitle and also suggesting that there is something more coming. Now, you would think that the game he's referring to here is Dream Drop Distance, as that was the next game to release after Recoded. Well, we get the answer to this in the Recoded Ultimania. Nomura was asked, you mentioned that there were 2 new Kingdom Hearts titles other than Kingdom Hearts 3 coming up, one coming out in 2010 and one more being announced in 2011. It seems the title releasing in 2010 was Recoded, but what about the other one? Were you referring to Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance or Birth by Sleep Final Mix? Nomura said, no, at the time of that interview, I intended to hint towards a different project. However, focusing my energy on Dream Drop Distance and BBS Final Mix comes first. Since a new secret episode is revealed in BBS Final Mix, I definitely want it to be seen. I think when you see it, you'll be excited for future developments. This confirms to us that the game in question here that Nomura was referring to is BBS Volume 2, and that the secret episode that would be included in Final Mix will help directly connect to that. Unfortunately, by 2012, after the release of Dream Drop Distance, any active developments going towards a Birth by Sleep Volume 2 were shelved. This was confirmed within the Dream Drop Distance Ultimania. The interviewer here asked, "You said I'm thinking of a Mystery Kingdom Hearts that made the producer go, what? Was that Dream Drop Distance?" Nomura said here, "No, it wasn't. I originally planned to make that game after Birth by Sleep, but we ended up making Dream Drop Distance, and the project was stopped. It's a shame, but we won't be starting that project again." He also mentioned that during that Blank Points movie, there were words "a fragmentary passage," weren't there? That means a bits and pieces of something whole. In short, a story for Volume 2 exists that ought to be told, but the story cuts off with those scenes. Because of that, I won't say there is absolutely no chance that we will produce a title to follow Birth by Sleep, but there are no plans as of now. The explanation of what a fragmentary passage actually means, alluding to bits and pieces, may suggest that the original idea of this game was that it was going to explain multiple stories in one. This of course makes sense, as it's still a Birth by Sleep title, as BBS, as we know, explains 3 separate stories. And that cutscene teasing Birth by Sleep Volume 2 doesn't just show Aqua in the Realm of Darkness, but also displays a bunch of other moments from Kingdom Hearts 2 to Kingdom Hearts 1, Roxas and Shion and Days, Xehanort, as well as Kairi standing outside of the Twilight Town mansion with the Twilight Town kids. By the way, I also want to point out too that this cutscene here actually alludes to Sora's erasure that happens at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. This is a cutscene that released in 2011, so Nomura had clearly been thinking about this for a while. Again in 2014, around the release of 2.5, Nomura had mentioned that the indication of Birth by Sleep Volume 2 is still within the HD remaster. It is a fragmentary passage, as the same suggests. That story was severed and wasn't told. I hope I can tell it when given the opportunity. Still showing us that back in 2014, even though by this time the project for Birth by Sleep Volume 2 had been shelved, this was still a story that he really wanted to tell at some point. Yet again, in December of 2014 with Kingdom Hearts Insider, he had mentioned that the ideas are still floating. Birth by Sleep Volume 2 was never meant to be the second chapter of BBS, rather it was intended to be a separate piece. The ideas are still there, but they are currently not being pursued. Perhaps in the future, we will have the opportunity to touch back upon this subject. Towards the end of 2015, after the reveal of 2.8, Nomura was asked about a fragmentary passage and how it's become the subtitle for 0.2. Although there is a story that exists for this, there are no plans to release it as a package that was shown in Birth by Sleep Final Mix's A Fragmentary Passage. However, since it exists as a setting, I touched upon it a little bit in planning the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3 and thought it would be a good opportunity. However, it's not affecting the progress of Kingdom Hearts 3, and because 0.5 is not a full volume, it would be 0.2. Because it is a fragmentary passage was left as a subtitle. This tells us that this is not the full vision of Volume 2 that Nomura had once planned, and rather it is going to be supplemented into a smaller package known as 0.2. This is again further confirmed here in another interview from Dengeki in 2015, where Nomura mentions that the concept of BBS 2 is living on as a setup, and the original plan of this was to show it off at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3. That's right, for those of you who don't know, 0.2 was originally meant to be the actual prologue of Kingdom Hearts 3. They decided not to pursue this and rather turn it into its own standalone thing as a short experience in 2.8, due to the volume of content that was already in Kingdom Hearts 3. He mentioned here that we won't show the whole thing of the initial concept, but we decided to show it ahead of Kingdom Hearts 3 as a short episode. This is outright telling us that 0.2 is in fact not the full 0.5 Volume 2. Nomura really hammers down on this when asked to explain the meaning of the title 0.2. In regards to the volume, it happens after Birth by Sleep, which would be considered the second chapter. Because you're not playing a full volume, the term fragment was left as the subtitle. In Birth by Sleep Final Mix's secret episode, the words 0.5 appeared, and that implies a full volume, so 0.2 was chosen to imply the other parts that were left. However, the remaining portion of what was supposed to be shown off in 0.5 will be explained in Kingdom Hearts 3. Now, aside from Aqua's time in the Realm of Darkness, we don't know what other stories were planned to be told within BBS Volume 2. The only takeaway we have is from the small teaser that was shown at the end of BBS's secret episode. It's at least speculated that, unfortunately, we didn't end up getting the rest of 0.5 integrated into Kingdom Hearts 3. Basically, all of what was shown within that teaser has no relation to any of the stuff we saw within Kingdom Hearts 3, showing us Kairi outside of the Twilight Town mansion, Ventus within the Chamber of Waking, or Riku back in Kingdom Hearts 1 holding Kairi on the Clock Tower in Neverland. Because as we know, a lot of Kingdom Hearts' original story elements stem from the very end of the game, which is largely just focused on everything that's unfolding within the Keyblade Graveyard. Interestingly though, within the Kingdom Hearts 3 Ultimania, Nomura mentioned that he wanted to dive a little bit deeper into Xehanort's backstory, and he was actually planning on doing this before Kingdom Hearts 3 was released, but that Xehanort story was unfortunately shelved. However, in 2020, we got Kingdom Hearts Dark Road attached to the Kingdom Hearts mobile game Union Cross. Not a full-fledged Kingdom Hearts title, but it provided Nomura an opportunity to dive into the origin of Xehanort. Within Nomura's launch message for Dark Road, he had mentioned that this was a story concept that he had had in mind for years, but it just wouldn't fit with the concepts the rest of the development team wanted, and he was about to give up on it. So is it possible that, looking at the full Birth by Sleep Volume 2 package, one of the other fragments or stories that game was going to dive into was Xehanort? After all, if we jump back to one of the comments that Tetsuya Nomura left here, explaining that this game will probably make the main characters more complicated, that sort of aligns up with the story that Dark Road tells. Xehanort's story isn't just black and white. He's not just some evil man that's using the powers of darkness for his own benefit. The story of Dark Road really helped to flesh out Xehanort's character a lot more, even providing situations where we're actively sympathizing for the main antagonist, providing additional layers to this man. This of course then complicates how we view Xehanort as a character, something that Birth by Sleep Volume 2 was likely trying to do. And I also feel as if Xehanort's story could fit under the Birth by Sleep subtitle, as he himself almost went through a state of Birth by Sleep. However, it really seems that BBS Volume 2 was going to dive into multiple characters and further flesh out more stories, just mentioning here that the main characters, meaning plural, will become more complicated. So multiple stories within one. So that's everything you need to know about the other cancelled Kingdom Hearts title. It's really interesting because Kingdom Hearts Missing Link is in the exact same situation here. This is a game that has very important story that no doubt will be supplemented into other areas, with maybe parts of that story being integrated into Kingdom Hearts 4, but we are hoping that we do get a proper standalone game of Missing Link at some point to provide the full story, unlike what happened here with 0.5 Volume 2. We still got 0.2, and for that I am thankful, but it is very obvious that we didn't get that full experience that was originally intended. I want to say a massive thank you to RaccoonCoffee over on Reddit for documenting all of the mentions of Volume 2 from Nomura across the years. I'll leave the link to the post in the description down below, as Raccoon's comments on each of the different quotes from Nomura here are really interesting to read over. I highly suggest that you guys check this one out. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Be sure to slap that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Big thank you to my wonderful patrons and YouTube members. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and we'll chat again real soon.